it's not of our doing, but it tells us what we've got to be prepared for that.
So, yes, so it's gonna be on the agenda for the department?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Have spent a lot of time on the, just getting the contract in place for the dollar store for the storage units. Not that that's a big deal, but we've got to set up files, we've got to set up receive the reimbursement, we've got to set up the spreadsheets, we've got to get the agreement or the scope of work to the engineer, go over everything, make sure that everything is clicking and communicating, and then we start to tick off the amount that they've deposited. The agreements are approved, had a $3,000 deposit.
Is there something that we have to agree on that employee stuff, that contractor? Can't we have a special meeting? I mean,
Oh,
a month out?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's too long.
I should hear back from the guy that I met here Friday fairly soon. He's going to come back to me, not with cost, but with a list of questions to be able to understand what he would be proposing. If nothing else, the exercise is going to help me get together a request for proposals. It's just, it's a lot of phone calls, a lot of conversations, and
How about living, there's no place here, there's no apartments or anything for these guys, and it's too far to commute. That's what we run into.
yeah, I mean, they'd have to place somebody here or get somebody. There are a number of certified operators in this county that I'm not down to who they are, but I don't know anything about them either, how much experience they have or anything else. But if they've got good leadership, somebody with a lot of experience, they can bring them in and get them up to speed really fast. I mean, the contractor has to guarantee certain things, but we'll have that for a robust discussion.
Before you move on to that,
Yeah, go ahead.
with this Dollar General and the storage upgrade to their system, tying into the system and such, what is the timeline for that? I can't recall. Are they looking at starting that here soon? Or, because my curiosity gets the best of me, we're without a T2 right now who is supposed to oversee that application of the job, correct? Aren't they, he's supposed to be inspecting it?
Yeah, it'll be a
So-
third party.
I'm sorry?
Third party inspector.
So we would hire somebody
Absolutely.
to, okay.
Yep, and it would come from their deposit.
And they would have to
Yep.
pay that fee.
Is that
Well,
so?
the
And
inspectors
pay
are.
would be reimbursed, right?
We have a $3,000 deposit, so we
Right.
just deduct it out, and when it gets down to $1,000, we estimate what the final.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought I remembered seeing that they're basically
Yeah,
responsible for paying that employee to oversee their construction.
yeah.
Okay,
I don't think in reality, I think that unless our employees really have a lot of time to do construction inspection, I think we're gonna be,
I suspect that.
doing more of the contracting, of that. If it's our own project, then we'll have to make a determination, but if it's somebody else, I hate to say it, paying the bill,
That's,
we just,
Let them foot the bill.
but that's what we
Where
would
is the
expect.
storage, where's the storage building? Is it over here?
It's in
Is it over by-
it's adjacent to the other one.
There's two of them right there, it's one of those.
It'll just extend all the way down to Las Palmas,
Las Palmas.
which I don't remember which one's south.
This one.
Yeah. So it'll go from one street to the other.
I thought that was the case, I just want to make sure.
I'm really sorry about the mapping project, I know we'll get to comments on that, but that has been a lot of effort just in setting up the visual aspects of it, and I hate to say it, but, line colors and visibilities and terrain layers and different things that are not boundary related, but it's been a lot of time there as well. We've got a lot of this stuff is on the agenda with the leak detection survey, but working through that with the contractor, with our engineer, has been time consuming. Again, we'll get to that on the agenda. The other thing that's a little bit interesting that goes along with it, and I just got the list from the contractor, the leak detection contractor, that if they're going to do this, they need to access our valves. Well, I can't guarantee that the valves are accessible, and we don't have the staff to get them prepared by November 5th. If that would be their arrival date, then so I am looking to get proposals for the cost of cleaning, going around and inspecting those 800 valve wells, because that is the most accurate way for them to detect leaks. They get down on that nut and they get connectivity with it. They can hear it. Their equipment tells them how close they are, and the more valves they have, the more hydrants they can get on those main lines, then the better off we are. But at the same time, we'd operate the valves at least. But to get to the valves, it takes either renting some type of suction equipment to pull it out, because you've got a 4-inch pipe that goes all the way down, down to the top of that valve, which is 3 feet of buried depth typically. And then operating the valve is either a manual crank, or you can rent a trailer that's got the suction equipment and a valve turner, so that you can do many a day. So anyway, looking into those options, but trying to figure out how we're going to get that done by November 5th. As of tomorrow, the remaining questions on the USDA reimbursement should be answered. That was something that we even talked about last month, and it has been, USDA wants every single invoice from the beginning of the project matched up with a reimbursement request for each of the other funding agencies for all of the wells. So we've just exceeded a foot in documentation submitted to USDA. This is, now we're paying by the foot, but we're looking at a reimbursement of about $350,000 in total remaining. And then they don't have a 6-week delay. It's an electronic transfer. So once it's approved, it's 2 days later and it's in the account. We have a grant agreement in place. We've met the letter of conditions. That's how we got the grant agreement. It's just answering their questions on the invoices.
You go by the water service thing. Can you tell me just a little bit more about what Brenda does?
She just comes in and fills out the reports
And
and makes herself available the whole day.
This is kind of a new thing, so do you have money in the budget to cover this?
It's been $400. So yeah, I mean, she's for a month
employee.
for her to come in and do the
She's done it
reports.
a lot. I mean, she's been here for a lot. Done this a
It's
lot.
not a new thing.
No, for
Oh, I
her, it
didn't-
isn't. No, Brenda's been here.
What page are you on?
Brenda's been here a lot.
Her son used to work here too.
Yeah.
First.
But Brenda has helped us out many times, and she's from CUD or something, is that?
Yeah,
Very
she was.
experienced.
Yeah, she's done it her whole career.
Unaware.
Yeah, I'm sorry, she doesn't want to do it, though, Russ. She's tried to retire too many times.
So you're mean.
Huh?
And you're mean.
Yeah. She retired from me once when I was at TUD, and, but anyway, she wants to help out, but she doesn't want to do it long term.
She's very.
We need a grade 2 to do that. You'll certainly see the check posted, or the deposit slip or something. We don't get a check on that from USDA. But that also leaves $150,000 remaining in that total grant. And that $150,000, once we have an understanding of what the cost is going to be for the barge renovation, that is something that USDA has already voiced an interest in helping with, so it would be a matter of getting them involved early on in the process of moving forward with those renovations to maximize the use of the grant funds. Because otherwise it just sits there in a contingency when you close the project out, and then it goes away. So it is, it doesn't come in, it doesn't pay for staff or anything else, it's only for.
So what I'm hearing is with this USDA grant, which was $500K, if I remember correctly, you're expecting that we're gonna have a surplus of $150K that we may not get, and the USDA is saying, hey, we're interested in getting on board and fixing your barge. Is that what you're saying? I wanna make sure I
It
get
was
it
a
clear
little
in
bit
my
more
mind.
proactive than that. It was sitting in here with a meeting with them when we signed the grant agreement
Right,
and talking about what the remaining work was and when it was gonna be done and saying that there was gonna be over $100,000 left. And then Jose asking, do you have some other drought-related emergency water supply project for that amount of money? And, you know, that amount doesn't get you very much. I mean, we try to do some planning with it, but we're better served to get that immediate project done.
but they expressed
Yes,
interest in
absolutely.
applying that excess.
We still have to submit a scope to them
Sure.
and go through the process of making sure that, you know, when we use a vendor to do the construction, that they've got their federal policies in place and, you know, it adds a dimension to it.
As long as the administrative costs don't come up to $85,000.
I know,
That's
well.
what I'm gonna be keeping an eye on, administrative costs, you know?
Yeah, let's see when we.
We'll see when we get there.
When we get there. When
I'll
we
put the
get,
cart before the horse.
you know, I've got to get the proposal, that's the next item on this report too. I've got to get we're working with the civil engineer, structural engineer, and the boatyard to get a number of costs ironed out. And we spent a full day down there going over stuff and picking apart and Russ, you would have been proud, you know, doing what you did and looking at that barge to see what made it tick and what would work and what we're thinking about and determining, you know, is renovating that existing barge a worthwhile exercise, because at minimum, we're looking at about $30,000 in new pontoons to make it float. And then we're still dealing with all the other stuff, but the concept that we're currently getting costs on and looks very feasible is to remove those large engines, the two big, huge diesel engines that were intended to be as a military surplus barge. I don't know why they had such big motors, but they also had a huge generator in there that would run, run a circus on top of that barge. And in reality, we just need to be able to run some hand tools and lights. So all of that weight and room can be freed up, the entire back of that boat in that engine compartment, and that's where the pumps can sit. There's a little bit of a ballast issue because it is going to sit it up just a little bit because it's back from center, but it's not as bad as trying to hang them off the back of the boat. And structurally, they don't have to redo the whole thing. So it's really some good brainstorming. I think we got a good group on it, and we would be, by pulling those motors out, we'd have to add an outboard, something that's easier to maintain. All we got to do is be able to get it where it needs to be when it gets off the trailer, and then move it, start it and move it each time we run.
You put the generator up front.
And we can carry a generator.
Put the generator up front, and then the fuel you need up front, and
Yeah.
batteries, and
There'll still be room in that, in mini storage areas on there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
Are those 6-cylinder diesels? What's that? I didn't go down there, you guys.
Yeah, they're big beasts. I mean, they're things that we've never maintained. We would have to have them maintained and.
But we don't have any need for that size.
So, and that also takes a lot of weight off that boat, a lot, because each one of those pumping motors is 6,000 pounds. So it's pretty.
So you're just gonna leave one, is that what you're saying?
No motor, no outdrive. It'll have an outboard motor, mounted a transom that goes across with an outboard motor on it, using the same steering and throttle and everything.
How much were you gonna sell those, they're probably Detroit diesels?
Yeah, there.
Yeah, so those old, straight sixes, I think, on those, but unless you're 6
The generator is probably worth more than the motors.
Yeah.
That is a big generator. Somebody that was building a big houseboat.
Oh,
Anyway,
Plus the transit buses.
that's been, it's been about a week and a half that they've been working on that. I should be getting their cost proposal. We're doing everything we can to make it come within our budget that we have already adopted. But we
They're
may have
gonna
to
give you
break
some
down.
options, right? They're
Yeah.
gonna give you, okay.
There will be, because there's some things on that barge that we need to look at for usability, safety, ergonomics, functionality that could be done over time. And just get the pipe on there, get the motors on there, and get it safe and floating. So that is a long-winded discussion. Always is.
Okay,
There's just a lot going on.
all right. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda.
Are there any comments on this or what?
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to make a comment there. I know no one's particularly interested in all the old history and all these kind of things, but regardless.
Well, we had a couple of history questions here.
Okay. But regardless, as McClintock and our supervisor told me with the water wells, these weren't emergencies. These were mismanagement. And not having employees, I would think is mismanagement. Another item is that shortly after you came, Pete, you had us sign up with, I don't know whether it was through CSDA or what it was, but it was some kind of a deal with trading employees. And the idea was it was kind of like an insurance policy. If we got in trouble, we'd trade employees. And if my memory serves me right, I think even Randy might have disappeared for a week or something. Went someplace or did to help somebody or something. I could be wrong on that. But once again, this is not something that is an emergency. I had another comment over here. Oh, last week, or last month, you made mention when we were talking about this barge, about Randy making a mistake, or Randy not being, it was a problem with the barge, the barge when we put it all together, and you referenced Randy being in charge or something of that nature. Well, it wasn't Randy in charge of that. It was Ralph Felix. Ralph Felix is the one that got the project started. He's the one that got the specs all laid out. He was the one that evaluated all the project. And as the barge was going out on its maiden floating deal, I was down there along with several other of the old cronies that sat around down there enjoying the water. And there were those pontoons were already full of water, and the thing was already tipping over. Okay, so it was once again mismanagement. That wasn't you weren't here then, but the point of it is, it had nothing to do with Randy. Excuse me just a second. I think I had one other note. No, I guess that was it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments?
You're gonna go to the mapping further down, right?
Yes. Okay, with that, can I get a motion on the consent agenda?